forward to being an ambassador.
You know, I feel vulnerable. I'm not the same person as I was 2 years ago.
The price of fame is paid.
Just want some love in my life.
In loneliness.
None of it seems real.
Self-doubt.
You just do one thing that they don't like and they slag you off.
And isolation.
Well, he likes me anyway.
An intimate portrait of fame through Jerry Halliwell. Wednesday at 9 on 4.
Visit Homebase now and you'll find more money-saving offers than they've ever had before.
More offers? Homebase have over 100 different power tools at up to 25% off.
But these will keep him busy.
All laminate flooring reduced by up to 25%.
But see what I mean?
Oh. And all wood care products have up to 20% off.
But Leslie!
With offers like these, Neil, you'll be too busy for butts.
But...
With more savings than ever.
Oh!
You're better off at Homebase.
I've got 2 of my own, so I'm used to dealing with men. If your name's not down, you're not coming in. When I'm at home, the last thing I want is more hassle. Wait. So I like these Knorr micro noodles and Knorr micro rice. No messing. Just shut the door and serve with anything. I'm not one of those people who actually enjoys waiting for things.
Knorr micro noodles and micro rice.
You know, I can still remember the very first sweets given to me by my grandfather. They were Werther's Original. I was just a boy. I'll never forget that first taste. Sweet and creamy and uncommonly good. I remember feeling I must be someone very special when my granddad gave me his wonderful butter candy. Now I'm the granddad. And what else would I give my grandson but my Werther's Original? He's someone very special too, you know.
Being a superstar can be so incredibly tedious and superficial.
Ciao, Madonna.
Superficial is nice. That man is so gorgeous. He's rather dishy. Dishy? More like a full-course meal. I've got a kissing scene next, and if you don't make my looks look absolutely lippish. Shh, let's all get a grip.
Lucky I've got this new Max Factor Gold. It makes your lips feel really luscious.
If I weren't me, I'd kiss me. But I am me, and that's a tragedy.
For the most beautiful lips in the world. New Max Factor Gold, the makeup of makeup artists.
Cut. Cut. Hey, I wasn't finished.
And Madonna.
Few things in life are guaranteed, but Scottish Gas's electricity prices are guaranteed to be cheaper than your local supplier until 2001.
Ta-da! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
At least you can be confident about your skin. Clean and Clear's Deep Cleansing Cream Wash removes everyday dirt and grease to help prevent spots, leaving a cool, fresh sensation. So you can feel happy your skin is beautifully clean and clear.
Oh no.
Clean and clear and under control.
On the 6th of May,
we'll all be asked to fill in 2 ballot papers. On one,
we put a cross against the name of a candidate, and on the other,
we put a cross against our preferred party.
Or an independent candidate.
Sounds simple enough. Need bother.
No problem at all.
That's a Dando.
The new Scottish Parliament. Have your say in May.
The time sale is on now, with huge savings on a great range of PCs. The time sale must end Wednesday.
How did I feel when I get doctored? I'm not thinking about that at the moment.
Well, sometimes if you talk about it, it stops being so frightening.
Does it? I'm not too sure, actually. Would it be like me to know?
The Decision, Tuesday at 9 on 4.
Write to replies after the Channel 4 News now with Sue Turton and Krishna Gurumurthy.
A third person dies from the Soho bomb, but a man's been arrested with explosives in his home. Good evening. Have they caught the bomber? As yet, we do not know. But another man died this afternoon from his injuries. 5 others are still critically ill. At least 3 have lost limbs. The police have warned there may be more bombings yet. But overnight, a man was arrested in Hampshire and explosive material has also been found. As hundreds march in defiance of the racist and homophobic attacks, why now? And what do they tell us about British society? Also tonight, the 3 American prisoners in Belgrade are to be freed after a visit by the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
And the sports headlines tonight. Manchester United are back on top of the Premiership thanks to a David Beckham goal. And the Leeds Rhinos steamroller the London Broncos in Rugby League's Challenge Cup final. The score a crunching 52-16. So a third person died in hospital this afternoon, another victim of the nail bomb which devastated a gay pub in London's West End last night. Police are linking the Soho blast with the bombings in Brick Lane and Brixton. A man is still being questioned in Hampshire in connection with that first attack. Lindsay Taylor reports.
At this time last night, people were enjoying an evening drink in the pubs and clubs of Soho, looking forward to the bank holiday weekend. Then, without warning, they were in the middle of carnage. Today, the area around the Admiral Duncan pub, a known gay bar, remained sealed off as officers from the Met's SO13 anti-terrorist branch picked through the remains. There was a semblance of normality today. The cafes are busy again. Life goes on. But the memories of last night will not be so easily swept away. Scores of people injured, many seriously. 2 men and a woman are dead. The device, similar to the nail bomb used in the 2 previous attacks, was described by police as crude and unsophisticated. Whatever its design, its effects were sickeningly lethal. Several hours after the bombing, the right-wing extremist group called the White Wolves claimed it was behind the outrage. Today, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner vowed the perpetrators would be caught, but did not diminish the impact of this latest terror campaign visited on the capital.
Every bomb in a great city like this is an outrage. Every death is a tragedy. There are 2 families this morning who are mourning the loss of loved ones. There are many, many families who are desperately concerned for people who are seriously ill. Our determination today, as we've said, is to stop this sequence of events, to catch whoever's responsible and to prosecute them through due process.
Early this morning, police swooped on an address in the Hampshire village of Cove. A man in his early 20s was held. His arrest follows the release of a closed-circuit TV image of a man spotted near the scene of the Brixton bombing. Neighbours said police informed them that explosives had been found inside the house. Scotland Yard says over the past 2 days, 4 other men were arrested but have been eliminated from the inquiry.
We are collecting evidence, we are examining evidence meticulously. You will understand that it would be entirely wrong and prejudicial to the objects of the investigation to add further detail on the nature of the evidence that we are examining.
At least 20 people are still being treated for serious injuries in hospital. Some of them are in critical condition.
They have quite deep wounds, they have amputations, and the wounds are ingrained with all sorts of foreign material, glass fragments, nails, fragments of metal.
The Home Secretary visiting the hospital said the bombings were an attack on all society.
We've come a very long way in the last few decades to make this society a multiracial, multicultural society, one which is tolerant and indeed celebrates people's differences, including their differences in terms of sexual preference. We've got a long way further to go, but we mustn't go back. And if there is some good to come of these outrages, and we shouldn't be in that position, it is that I think it's brought communities, different groups, closer together rather than further apart.
If you see any suspect packages or bags, such as the one you see here, then do not touch it.
This afternoon, police held a reconstruction of the Brick Lane bombing, hoping it too will prompt people to provide valuable information. In Soho and other areas frequented by minority groups in London and around the country, police say they're increasing their profile. So once again today, the message has gone out for people to be vigilant. Police say in recent days, pubs and clubs in this area had been visited by officers, and the Admiral Duncan was actually displaying a police warning notice. But it didn't prevent last night's bombing, and the truth is, it may not prevent another.
Lindsay Taylor. Well, hundreds of people marched from Brixton through Soho and on today in a show of defiance against the nail bomb attacks. Members of the black and Asian communities joined gay and lesbian groups in solidarity against the far-right hate campaign. Peter Wilson was with them.
A minute's silence for the 2 dead and all of the injured, a gesture of heartfelt solidarity with the communities under fire. Then they set off, beginning where it all began 2 weeks ago, Brixton, scene of the first nail bomb attack. Gays, Asians and blacks have all been united by right-wing racists in a way that left-wing activists have never been able to manage before. But the newfound unity has done nothing to dilute their bewilderment. What do you think is going on in Britain at the moment? Why is this happening?
God knows, there's no explanation for it.
Why was it so important for you to come out here this afternoon?
I think that England is safe to live, yeah, and people here, we are same, black, white, Asian, gay, anybody, you know, we are same. So I don't see any problem if all the community live together, you know. So why make a bombing?
From Brixton in South London, the marchers went towards Parliament and Downing Street.
It's about black people, gay people, it's white people, straight people, it's Jews, it's everybody, it's ordinary people everywhere.
But I really don't know why it's happening now. I mean, I think in all seriousness, it's probably a backlash to the Stephen Lawrence inquiry. That's why they're attacking the black community. There's not very much they can do about the gay community. They just want us dead, I presume. I don't know.
They're trying to drive us apart, and the message we're giving them here today, that is the reverse effect. We're coming together in a way you've never seen us before.
From Downing Street onto Trafalgar Square in Soho. Saw anything like this in the 70s or the 80s. Why now? Why 1999? What's happening?
Because we're moving towards a more egalitarian society. We're moving towards the kind of acceptance, not just tolerance, and acceptance of difference.
If today's march was supposed to be a spontaneous gesture of anti-racist solidarity, then it's been a qualified success. There are too many hardline professional lobby groups here for it to be called spontaneous. But among those ordinary people who've taken to the streets, something quite remarkable has emerged. A feeling that the sort of society envisaged by the Lawrence report is already on its way and cannot be stopped by a bombing campaign.
Peter Wilson. Well, our reporter Lindsay Taylor is in Soho now and joins us live. Lindsay, what's happening down there?
Well, the situation here, Krishnan, is really one of contrast. The rather sombre scene you see behind me with the bomb scene still screened off, there is a word that they may be due to remove one of those blue tarpaulins soon and partially reopen the road. But elsewhere all around me, behind the camera, there are actually hundreds of people that are converging, walking through the streets, actually enjoying the fact that some of the streets are closed off so they can use them as a pedestrian way, and sitting in the cafes, enjoying themselves, having a beer, rather like the atmosphere last night when the bomb went off. Now, I suppose they feel that there's no chance of anything like that happening again twice in the same place. But there's also, I have to say, that sort of mood of defiance is reflected in Peter Wilson's report there. Among the gay community here, there is a determination that this is not going to spoil their enjoyment of places like this. And there are notices up saying things like, "We'll never forget this hideous atrocity, but we're pledged to fight intolerance and racism." Now, I can tell you that the police, Scotland Yard, have told me that they've appointed a special gay and lesbian police liaison officer who's there to keep in touch with the gay community, and he'll be doing the rounds, trying to glean information, particularly from people who may be a little bit sensitive about coming forward.
And Lindsay, lastly, it may have been a gay bar, but news tonight that it wasn't just full of gay people.
Indeed, rather reflecting Jack Straw's comments that this is an attack on all society, we do know that from reports from the hospital that a groom and his best man are among the seriously injured in hospital. They were out celebrating and were caught in the bomb.
Lindsay Taylor in Soho, thank you very much. Well, other news now, and the Yugoslav president Slobodan Milosevic has agreed to release the 3 American prisoners of war, according to the Yugoslav news agency Tanjug. The American civil rights campaigner Jesse Jackson says they'll be freed tomorrow morning. The Reverend Jackson met the servicemen yesterday before talks with President Milosevic to negotiate their freedom. He now plans to take them out of Belgrade tomorrow. He's urged NATO to give Yugoslavia a night of peace from the bombing in return. Well, in Washington now, our correspondent there, David Smith. David, Jesse Jackson says give them a night of peace. What chance of that?
I don't think there's any chance at all, Christian. I was just talking to somebody at the National Security Council at the White House, and their line is absolute that this is terrific news. Mr. Milosevic is doing finally that which he should have done with people he should never have taken prisoner in the first place. But the bombing will go on. That's a clear line from the White House and the Pentagon this afternoon. Having said all that, of course, tomorrow looks now we're going to have Jesse Jackson home saying give peace a chance. In a war where public relations has been so critical to both sides, it would be naive not to see this as a PR move by Mr. Milosevic, the consequences of which, who knows? I've just been listening to the American networks. They're all talking about a dramatic turnaround in this war.
And what is the significance of Jesse Jackson being there, David? He's meant to be fairly close to this administration. He's said to be carrying a letter back to Bill Clinton.
Oh, I'm sure he is. However, the White House made it very clear before he went, Christian, that there was no way that he was negotiating for the White House or for the Allies. I think what we can expect tomorrow is that Jesse Jackson will get home. We will see some real celebration of the return of these POWs. I think we will also see an appeal from Jackson, but that will not change the basic tenet of the war. One thing to note, though, that is that a few days ago, Bill Clinton said 3 more months potentially of this air war. That was another way of saying, Christian, 3 more months for the Russians to find a way out. And it's inconceivable to me that Milosevic and Jackson wouldn't be doing this afternoon unless the Russians were going to run with it somewhere over the next few days and weeks.
David, thank you very much. Well, reports from Yugoslavia claim that NATO forces have killed around 40 civilians in an attack on a road bridge earlier today. The reports claim a missile hit a bus crossing the bridge near the town of Lucani, north of the capital, Pristina. The news agency Tanjug said the missile cut the bus in 2, sending half of it into the river below. Independent journalists on the scene said they saw about 15 bodies trapped in the charred wreckage of the bus. The Serbs say NATO planes then attacked the bridge a second time, injuring a doctor at the scene. The Allies say they're still investigating what happened. And President Clinton has imposed a wider trade embargo against Yugoslavia aimed at cutting off supplies of oil and other strategic goods. Another 6,000 refugees, meanwhile, have been flooding across the Kosovan border into Albania today. The UN has accused Serbian forces of rounding up ethnic Albanians and driving them out of the southern town of Prizren. Detectives hunting the killer of Jill Dando have received more than 1,000 calls after the release of an e-fit image of their prime suspect. Police are also following up more information about the man's suspected accomplice. The prison service has been forced to change all the cell locks at the high-security Whitemoor jail in Cambridgeshire after an inmate was found with a duplicate key made of wood. Security was stepped up at Whitemoor 3 years ago when a prisoner made a replica key using plastic cutlery. Well, now the weather, and tonight most places will be dry with mist along the south coast. Temperatures will drop to 5 degrees. Tomorrow will be another fine sunny day with light winds, although northeastern England will be cloudy and there's a risk of isolated showers. It should stay dry and sunny for the next few days. Well, when we come back, today's top sports news, plus an attack against the heart of society blamed on a far-right group. We'll be discussing the threat, the fight back, and the efforts to stop them bombing again.
I am only one.
I cannot do everything.
But I can do something.
And because I cannot do everything,
I will do the something that I can do.
Every person can make a difference, and every company. At BP, we've made a commitment to the world in which we live and breathe, starting with the introduction of cleaner, greener fuels that substantially reduce emissions. BP, for the journey ahead.
This is not a macrobiotic restaurant. This is a life enrichment center. I also provide spiritual nourishment. Umeboshi. Voila, the recipe of eternal life.
What's more important, eating healthily or driving the safest car in its class? The new Renault Megane. Stay beautiful.
Welcome back. You're watching Channel 4 News. Our main headline tonight: a third person has died in hospital from injuries sustained in last night's nail bomb attack in Soho. Detectives investigating all 3 London bombings have seized explosives and are still questioning a man in Hampshire. And we'll be discussing the implications of the bomb later, but first, with news of the Rugby League final and the rest of the sporting action, over to Sue Turton.
Yes, Krish, it was the last Rugby League Challenge Cup final ever to be played at Wembley, and what a final it was. The Leeds Rhinos showing the London Broncos what the game's great north-south divide is all about.
It may have been 80 degrees at Wembley, but it took Leeds a while to warm up. Broncos flyer Martin Offiah was first off the mark with this solo dash. Then the Londoners found the gap again with another from Robbie Simpson. A penalty kick put Leeds on the score sheet before Yorkshireman Darryl Powell flummoxed the Broncos' defence with this dummy run, and Leroy Rivet capitalised. Another from Brad Godden gave Leeds a 12-10 lead at half-time. The second half and the Broncos were first out of the gates. Greg Fleming chasing, and the Rhino defence was all over the place. London were back in the lead. But then the Yorkshire onslaught began. All 17 stone 10 of Barry McDermott clambered over the line. It's converted by fullback Yestin Harris. A good day's work for him, kicking a solid 7 and a penalty. But it was Leeds winger Leroy Rivet's day. He scored 4 tries, the first player ever to do so in a Challenge Cup final. So the final score, 52-16. The Rhinos' first Challenge Cup victory since 1978.
Now to football, and after observing a minute's silence in memory of Sir Alf Ramsey, who died this week, the fight for the top of the Premiership continued. Manchester United are still on course for the treble after squeezing past Aston Villa this afternoon. A David Beckham free kick in the first minute of the second half gave them a 2-1 victory and all 3 points. Elsewhere in the Premiership, strugglers Charlton and Blackburn drew 0-0. Chelsea beat Everton 3-1. Liverpool came from 2 goals down to beat Spurs 3-2. The North East derby between Newcastle and Middlesbrough ended in a 1-1 draw. Relegated Nottingham Forest beat Sheffield Wednesday 2-0. Southampton beat Leicester 2-1, and in the most remarkable Premiership game of the day, West Ham lost 5-1 at home to Leeds after having 3 players sent off. Manchester United's victory means that they go back to the top of the Premiership table. They're now 2 points ahead of Arsenal, who play Derby County tomorrow. At the bottom, Southampton climb out of the relegation zone. Charlton and Blackburn remain in the trouble. In Nationwide Division 1, champion Sunderland totted up a new club record of 100 points with an away win at Stockport. Promotion-chasing Bradford rounded off their season with a 0-0 draw at home to second-to-bottom Oxford. Bristol City were relegated after losing 3-1 at Sheffield United. The last remaining automatic promotion place is still up for grabs. Bradford's draw leaves them in second place, but they could be pipped to the post by Ipswich, who still have 2 games to play. Bristol City's defeat confirms that they go down. Rugby Union and Northampton have kept their faint hopes of winning the Allied Dunbar Premiership alive. They beat Bath in a bad-tempered match at Franklin's Gardens by 40 points to 17. This try from Mike Tyndall set Northampton on their way, while this spectacular effort from Federico Mendes secured a comfortable victory for the home side. The result means that Northampton still have a slim mathematical chance of taking the Premiership title, although a Leicester victory at Newcastle tomorrow would dash any such hopes. Snooker, and Mark Williams has potted his way into his first World Championship final.